Obviously, by the size of the crowd and the number of public speakers, item 6.2 is an issue of great community concern and controversy. And obviously, the City Council is in a tough position given the fact that this is a difficult decision based upon the indication by the proposed sponsors and the parties requesting that a Tet Parade occurred this year, that, again, as they did last year, they would exclude the gay and lesbian organization from participating in the parade. What I'd like to do is walk you through briefly, both for the audience's sake and also for the council's sake, what the city's role and responsibility is, because it can be sometimes misunderstood. It is a difficult challenge. As we said a year ago, and I'll say again this evening, this city council has gone on the record to clearly indicate that it does not in any way condone any form of discrimination, and that it supports the gay and lesbian community's right to participate in this parade, and has, in fact, when the city sponsored the parade, included them in the participation without incident, without a problem, and there were no issues that it was totally an appropriate event. Having said that, we are in a unique situation in that the matter before the City Council this evening is not a city-sponsored event. It is an event that is proposed by a private organization, and they have a right to proceed and conduct their event as they deem appropriate. When I say that, as they deem appropriate, let me indicate that the United States Supreme Court has indicated two important principles. The first of which is that a parade is indeed determined to have been a First Amendment activity. In other words, it's an expression of speech. And secondly, with respect to the role of government, in this case the Westminster City Council, it may not regulate the content of that speech, so that as a result, it is limited in terms of what it can or can't do this evening. The role of the City Council this evening is to determine the appropriate, and I will use legal words right now, the time, place, and manner of the event. Those words have legal significance, and I will explain what time, place, and manner means so that you as a community and certainly the council will understand what its limitations are. What we cannot do is we cannot determine who may or may not participate in the parade. We may or may not control the content of the activities of the parade as long as it is a private event. Should the City Council at any point in time as a city elect to sponsor an event, then at that point in time, as they've done historically, they would include automatically the gay and lesbian community. But in this situation, there's a private party coming forward, and they have asked to have the event, and they've asked to exclude this particular organization and group of individuals. Time, place, and manner means this, that with respect to content, the City Council has no role. With respect to time, place, and manner, the proposed event is to take place on city streets. Those city streets, we have a right to control both the time of the event, how the event will occur with respect to the logistics associated with it, such as public safety, the hours the parade might occur, the day that the parade might occur if there's some discussion regarding that approval, and the manner in which it operates with respect to such things as public safety or public welfare, such as the providing of public restrooms, putting up barriers so that the Public Works Department makes sure that cars do not cross the street and properly protect the public, and secondly, provide police services as deemed necessary. And they do have the right to recover the actual and reasonable cost for those services. So they have a right to impose conditions. Those conditions, again, relate to the actual event that's occurring and the practicality of that event, and secondly, have the right to require as a condition of approval that all those costs be borne by the private party and be paid in advance of the event so that the city is made whole. It can't profit from it, but it is entitled to receive the reasonable return of its cost based upon what expenditures the city incurs. I would also like to go forward and indicate to you that I've received some correspondence indicating some concern, or at least an allegation, that with respect to the prior history of the city, that this was a city-sponsored event, and therefore the city had the right to regulate the speech and content. I've reviewed the actions of the city in the past, and the actions of the city, again, relate to the time, place, and manner. Last year, the city was compensated for their costs. They did participate with respect to police services, public works department, community services in assisting in the time, place, and manner of the event. But it in no way controlled who participated or the content of the event itself. And so therefore, last year nor this year would this be a city-sponsored event, and therefore we are not in a situation which we can control the content. Let me finally indicate to you that I think that this is in some ways a very sad and a difficult situation. I understand the City Council wants all to participate in the parade. I understand the City Council clearly believes that the gay and lesbian community should have a right to participate in this parade. But let me also indicate to you that we are legally limited with respect to that situation. And while I'm sure we'll hear speakers this evening encouraging the City Council to deny this particular permit, if the Council does in fact deny the permit based upon the content, then in that situation we have the exposure that the applicant could go to court and ask the court to order the parade to take place, and if our basis for denial is on the assumption that it's based upon the content or the denial of discriminatory actions of the parade applicant, we are likely not to prevail in that particular situation. So I want the Council to understand that with respect to its role this evening, it's related to the event itself as far as the time, place, and manner. Certainly the City Council has the right to look at the time, place, and manner and impose those reasonable conditions that are appropriate. And if they believe those conditions can't be imposed, they obviously have the ability to turn down the applicant based on time, place, and manner. But quite candidly, it would have to be something we do not currently know about with respect to the event itself that might relate to denying it based on time, place, and manner. In any event, the Council are 5 very good and special people. They've been in this Council and in this community for many years. They understand the difficult task, and I recognize that they are faced with a difficult decision this evening. Unfortunately for them, while they may have sympathies towards the gay and lesbian community, hands are legally tied, and they have to recognize there's limitations with respect to their role this evening, and hopefully you'll respect their judgment and their decisions this evening and understand that they have certain legal responsibilities to protect the interests of the city and the city's funds. With that, Mr. Mayor, I turn it back to you.
Thank you, City Attorney. I really have another request for this City Council that I think we should limit time for each side to be 30 minutes because we have so many speakers, so I need a motion on that.
I would move we limit the speaking on this subject to 30 minutes.
We have a motion and...
I'll second that for both sides, right? 30 minutes altogether on the subject.
No, 30 minutes for each side.
Each side?
Oh,
no. 30 minutes altogether.
Okay, all together.
Let me step in before you go too far down.
No. 30 minutes for each side.
The Brown Act indicates that you have to give the parties a reasonable opportunity to participate. What I would suggest you do is if you want to have the first speakers who are on one side speak for 30 minutes and the opponents speak for 30 minutes, we can then look and see where we are. If we still have a number of speakers that want to speak, the Council can decide whether to allow them to speak as well. Let me indicate to you 2 things. That with respect to the Brown Act and the opportunity to speak this evening, the law favors the rights of the people to speak. However, you as a Council can also limit that contact to the extent that if people get up and are saying the same exact thing over and over again and it becomes redundant, the Mayor can simply ask those people who are in support or in opposition to indicate their position on the record, but you're not legally required to keep hearing the same arguments or the same position over and over if you believe you're not getting new information. So there is some limitation as far as your ability to control the number of speakers. But again, the law, generally speaking, encourages you to allow the public the chance to speak to you.
Well, I thought we had a policy that was 20 minutes.
So we need a substitute motion then?
The way our policy reads, it does say that, and it also says, the very last line is, subject to the City Council's ability to expand that if they deem necessary.
Okay, so I'll need a substitute motion, then 30 minutes
Each side?
for each side. Okay, so I will move for that, and then we'll see where we are.
Pro and con.
Yeah.
Okay, we have the substitute motion for 30 minutes for each side, so I need a second for that substitute motion.
And also included in that is 3 minutes per speaker.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we already have that. All right, so we have the motion on substitute motion on the floor in a second. Yes.
Wait a second. I would like it to be, like us to reconsider or look where we are at the end of that 30 minutes, because if there's only a couple of speakers left, then I would like them to be able to speak.
And let me indicate that I would encourage you as well to be flexible.
Sure.
All right,
Okay.
With the understanding that the remaining time can be allotted by the opposing group.
all right, so
We'll be flexible and
all
address
right.
it as we get to that.
So we have that in the motion, we amend it in the motion.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carry 5-0. First speaker, I would like to invite LGBT group to speak first.
The first speaker, let me just state too that the City Clerk's office has tried our best to determine which people are speaking in favor of inclusion and those that are not. However, if we've called the name wrong, please let me know and we'll make sure to allow that time accordingly.